And now, it's BoomerLife, lifestyle discussion designed to make your life more engaging, meaningful, and complete. Celebrating the baby boomer generation, this is BoomerLife on CIL 650.
Well, hello, and welcome to Boomer Life on CIL 650 as we have that Listen to the Music song from the Doobie Brothers kind of pointing us in the general direction of the theme of this hour of Boomer Life. We're going to talk about hearing and the latest innovations in hearing and your ability to listen to the music, well, for a lot more years. We're going to talk about the inner workings of the ear from an expert perspective, and it's always a delight to welcome this expert to our Boomer Life program from Mainland Hearing and NexGen Hearing. Audiologist Dr. Ted Venema is back with us on Boomer Life. Hello, Dr. Ted.
Good to be back again.
Good to have you with us. That listen to the music stuff, you know, we boomers. We're very fond of our music and have been since, well, we started listening to it really loud back in the 50s. So for those of us who are still enjoying listening to the music in 2015 and we can hear it, what have we done right that some of our peers have not?
We have ears that work.
I suppose. A little
we
luck.
Still do.
A little luck goes a long way, right?
Yeah. A little luck and a little prevention of noise.
Right.
But you can't do too much about aging, and that's just going to happen. But noise is the second most common cause of hearing loss following aging, and it's preventable. So it cuts high frequencies off of your hearing.
And it even has a fancy title. It's noise-induced hearing loss.
There you go, NIHL.
Right. And so is that simply the loss of one's ability to hear through prolonged exposure to, well, noise?
Yeah, noise pollution. We've got noise pollution in our society.
Okay.
Elderly people in Africa have better hearing than elderly people in North America because we've got noise pollution. We're listening to noise that our ears were never intended to hear.
Well, now, let me stop you there because this is something that this is a point you continue to make, and you keep going back to those folks in Africa.
That's right.
Because the human ear, as you understand it, and you're the PhD audiologist in this conversation, but the human ear was designed to hear clearly
and soft sounds.
That's
nature, sounds of nature, and voices over the crackling of a fire.
That's right. It's basically a almost noise-free environment.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what our ears are designed to be most effective at, picking up small sounds in the quiet.
And hearing the soft sounds of speech.
Right.
Because the sounds in speech that are soft are the high pitches. The letters S, F, TH. And those soft little pops and fizzes, they tell everything about what the word is. And noise and age, both together, both of those, two main causes of hearing loss, those causes kill off treble hearing. When you lose treble, you've got the trouble with treble.
Okay.
That means you can hear, but I can't hear clear, my dear. I can hear people talking, but I can't hear what did they say, dishes or fishes.
Right.
You
so
know?
Noise-induced hearing loss is from external sources. We've been exposed to a lot of noise, and eventually it takes a toll on our ability to hear.
It does indeed.
If indeed that is the second most common source of of hearing loss among adults, what is the most common?
Aging.
Oh, gee, I knew you were going to say that.
Becoming a boomer.
This is Boomer Life. So you've just come here to just kick us in the teeth, haven't you?
I came in to join in. I'm hitting 60 next year, or this year.
So what happens as one ages that causes an erosion in one's ability to hear?
You lose hair cells inside your inner ear. And that's the topic of today. We're going to go over some of the pieces and parts of the ear.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
But inside that inner ear, excuse me, it's shaped like a snail shell. It's called a cochlea. Cochlea is Greek for snail shell.
Okay.
Anyway, it's about as big as the tip of your little finger. Your pinky fingernail, and it's encased in bone, and it's got 15,000 tiny little filaments inside of it. And those filaments, when they get damaged, you can't repair them. Surgery can't. You can think of a scalpel blade, it's going to be too big to get in there. You can't do anything about it. So when those hair cells are gone, they're gone. And people tend to lose the hair cells closest to the entrance of that inner ear. Just like the carpet in front of your door is the first to get dirty.
Absolutely.
And the hair cells at the entrance are the treble hair cells. So
Oh.
they tend to die out first, leaving someone with good bass hearing but poorer treble hearing.
And it's the subtleties of
Yes.
human speech
Yes.
are in the trebles.
Exactly. Nestled in the treble. Yep.
Okay. So what remedy, short of a hearing aid, is there for one who is a boomer, Ted, like you and me, who is experiencing, to their great distress, a certain degree of hearing loss? So is it just something a human being experiences and time to deal with it? Because that's part of the human life cycle.
It's called deal with it.
Ah, okay.
You know, wake up and smell the coffee. It doesn't mean you're not a nice person. It means you have a high-pitched hearing loss.
Okay.
And we can, being 2015, do a whole lot about it.
Sure.
It's called wearing hearing aids.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing aids are not these big, ugly beige boxes behind the ear anymore. I sat behind a fellow on the ferry, and because my business is to look at ears, I happened to notice, but it's only because I was looking.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a hair-thin strand going down in front of his ear. You'd never notice it.
Mm-hmm.
The passing public wouldn't have a clue.
And you know, for some people, and I think probably more men than women, they have this antiquated version of the hearing aid.
Yeah.
They see themselves as the guy with the big flesh-colored plastic hubcap hanging off the side of his head. Oh, people 4 blocks away can tell I'm the guy with the hearing aid. I don't want to be that conspicuous.
It's got a bit of ego in it.
Oh, no question.
There's a whole psychological wrap to it, you know. But there's the idea, generally, what would you do if you had hearing loss and you didn't have hearing aids? If you had typical hearing loss, you've got to cut out background noise.
Okay.
Easier said than done.
Sure.
In a grocery store. You know. But hearing aids, too, can handle background noise better than they used to.
Okay.
So we've come a long way. Just a huge way in hearing aid complexity and the difficult listening situations they can handle.
You have a wonderful way of explaining things which suggest an educational background. You have been a teacher. You've been a university professor. You were at one point contemplating a career as a speech therapist.
At one time.
And changed from speech therapy to audiology.
I was going
Talk to us about hitting that fork in the road and why you chose audiology after having pre-selected speach therapy.
Well, Ed, I had never heard of audiology in my life. People have heard more about speech therapists, sometimes called speech-language pathologists.
Sure.
It almost sounds like someone's looking at a dead person. But at any rate, I went to Western Washington University in Bellingham.
Okay, sure.
Used to call it Hellingbam. And I went there and I was studying speech pathology. And all speech pathology students have to take some audiology, hearing, and all audiology students have to take some speech.
And it would make sense for a speech pathologist to have a complete understanding of how the ear works.
Speech and hearing.
Of course.
You know, it's called communication disorders.
Okay, so you're in the speech pathology class, and you start taking these audiology courses.
It interested me more. I just thought, it's almost like optometry, but for the ear.
Right.
Well, that's cool. I think I'll focus on that. I liked it better. So I got my master's in audiology, and then later on went to University of Oklahoma and got a PhD over there.
Okay. And when you came back to Canada, you went to work for a hearing aid company. You went to work for, was it the largest Canadian hearing aid manufacturer?
It was the only one. It's Canada's only homegrown.
That's back in Kitchener-Waterloo, isn't it?
Kitchener-Waterloo. It's called Unitron Hearing Aids.
Okay.
And it still is called Unitron.
Oh, okay.
And they're Canada's only homegrown hearing aid manufacturer, but there's only about 6 or 7 manufacturers out there. It used to be about 30, but the big fish ate the smaller ones.
Well, of course.
As is done in business, and now there's about, I'd say, around 7 or something like that, roughly, main manufacturers. Most are based in Europe. Like there's a couple out of Switzerland, Bernafon, and I think Phonak, and there's another company. Starkey is out of the USA. Resound is out of the USA. But there's Widex in Denmark. Videx, they call it.
Okay.
Oticon out of Denmark as well. So, but that's the general landscape.
Right, and the technology now you started to work in this Kitchener-Waterloo Canadian hearing aid company. Wouldn't that be in the 70s or the 80s?
Oh, no, 95.
Okay.
90s.
So that's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
so
boy, have hearing aids changed.
I was just going to say, talk to us about the amount of change.
It's whopping.
In 20 years in hearing aid technology.
1990 was like the 1914 of hearing aids. I mean, it was like the change of all changes.
Okay.
Analog changed to digital.
Oh, okay.
I came to Unitron, used to teach at Auburn University, down in Auburn, Alabama, and done lost my accent, and worked at Unitron at the tail end of the analog era. And the analog hearing aids of the early 90s, they had couple of different channels, but you still changed the sound of them with tiny little screwdrivers. Kind of like you turn them to make the highs or lows change in them.
Okay.
And it's almost like a light switch dimmer in a living room. You can raise or lower the light. They call those potentiometers. And that's how you change the sound of the hearing aid. You did it physically.
Okay.
And the hearing aids had a mic, an amp, and a speaker, and they had capacitors and whatever inside, all this electronic stuff. Today, or 1997, the first digital hearing aids came out.
And that immediately meant miniaturization, didn't it?
Well, it meant miniaturization wasn't the main thing, but that was part of it.
Sure.
But it just meant that hearing aids were now programmed with a computer.
Right.
And so now you're setting the person in front of you, and you're on your computer changing the person's sound. And then just like you're doing on a Word document, save settings, hit enter or save. You want to open up the things again and change things, the treble or the bass, or how it handles noise, how its microphones work in quiet versus noise. Are you a taxi driver? Are you a librarian? What's your life set? What's your skills? Well, let me tailor this hearing aid after you and your lifestyle.
Right, okay.
So
and that wasn't possible with the old analog technology.
No. So hearing aids in the last 20 years have completely changed.
Now, is it possible, Ted, that a lot of the reason that a lot of boomers, and this is Boomer Life, a lot of us are still not there yet when it comes to hearing aids and maybe even going for the annual hearing test because of that ego quotient that you talked about earlier?
I think so. And,
but why? Here's the part that I don't understand. Ted and I are both sitting here with our glasses on. Okay, he's got the thing
around
mine
hanging
neck.
around my neck.
Yeah. But we both wear glasses. Yeah. And we have no problem going to the eye doctor, getting an eye test, because I can't see quite as well as I used to, and I can't read the computer screen anymore.
You know what I think is the reason why? It's because you can see vision loss. I mean, it's almost metaphorical. But you can see blindness. You see, hear. The eyes get all the attention.
Right.
Someone walks out with a white cane, everybody lends an arm to help across the street.
Of course, yeah.
But someone says, "Hi, I didn't hear you." At the grocery store, it's like, the bananas are $1.49.
Right.
You know, we don't have a tether of patience because deafness is an invisible handicap, and we believe what we see.
Interesting, but why?
I firmly
Well, you know, and I think there's more than a little merit to that, but I suppose, and that would explain some of the ego
and the
involvement
deaf and dumb, the whole old story. Hearing loss is more of a sign of age, you know, infirmity. You know, whereas vision loss hits you at 40.
Well, I
so
know.
half the people walking around have glasses on. Elton John's were as big as God. I mean, you know, but vision loss is fashionable. The inability to see begins to hit you at age 40. Inability to hear hits you around 65.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
If it's the vision loss begins at 40, the hearing loss is
later.
significantly later.
Exactly, and that's why it's more associated with age.
Ah.
You see? So when something has a stigma like that, people shy away from it. They're not nearly as ready to go to an audiologist or hearing aid practitioner for hearing aids as they are to go to an optician or an optometrist for glasses.
Interesting, and it's certainly there's no social loss of status if you happen to put on a pair of glasses.
Exactly.
And you can do that pretty much everywhere, and people will go, "Oh, there's a person putting on their glasses,"
yeah, exactly.
and that's it. So if it's that commonplace, and that such a terrific remedy, why did those of us who have no problem hustling down and getting the latest whiz-bang frames and all the rest of it so we look really cool, why would that group stand back when they had the same opportunity to do for their hearing what they just did for their vision.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of hearing aids get a bad rap. That's part of it as well. In other words, how many hearing aids are sitting in a drawer?
Right.
How many people never took the time to explain things when hearing aids were being sold? You know, it's not quite like glasses. Hearing aids for ears are different than eyeglasses for eyes. Okay? First of all, glasses are cheaper. And second of all, damage to the eyeball is usually because your eyeball is too long or too short. So light isn't focused properly on the back of the eye called the retina.
Right, okay.
So you wear glasses to refocus the light, and then God's in his heaven and all's well with the world.
Right.
Hearing aids, it's like the retina, in quotes, of the ear itself is damaged or scratched, and that's those tiny hairs.
Okay.
And so ruining or damage to the inner ear is 95% of hearing loss is damage to the inner ear. And that is akin to someone having damaged retinas of the eye.
I see.
You see? So but 95% of vision loss is the eyeball is too long or short. Light isn't focused properly. So you wear glasses to refocus the light and everything's good.
Exactly.
If hearing aids could only have that easy a task.
Well, no,
they don't.
You mentioned that glasses are on balance cheaper.
Yeah.
So, but hearing, is there a myth perhaps also associated on the other side of that coin that hearing aids are absurdly expensive? So don't even talk to me about that. I couldn't begin to afford that. Does is that part of the old stigma?
I think that is, because there are a lot of options now.
Yeah.
Hearing aids come in gold, silver, or bronze. That's one thing, just like the Olympics.
Price points,
yeah.
right?
And another thing, options come, especially with NexGen and Mainland.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, options for financing, options for rental.
Right.
You can rent hearing aids.
Right.
For as low as what, $59 a month.
Yeah, lease to hear.
So
right.
when you're not leasing to buy, you're leasing to hear. Because when new upgrades come in hearing aids, you get a new set of hearing aids.
And how frequently, because you're talking about now the amazing rate of improvement since 1997,
unreal.
And the whole industry went digital.
Yeah.
That's almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Every 18 months, 24 months, 12 months?
I'd say about every 24.
Every couple of years.
Every 2 to 3 years, there's really huge, significant advances that take place in hearing aids.
All right.
It's unreal. It's one of the biggest departments at a hearing aid manufacturer is R&D, research and design.
Our guest on this episode of Boomer Life is audiologist Dr. Ted Venema, who is a consultant to NexGen Hearing and Mainland Hearing. NexGen Hearing, NexGen, by the way, with clinics and offices all over Vancouver Island, Dr. Ted, and up in the interior. Mm-hmm. And down here, well, it's Mainland Hearing, and that would be for those of us living in the lower mainland. And their website is mainlandhearing.com. Back with lots more. We're going to talk about, well, all the parts of the ear with audiologist Dr. Ted Venema on Boomer Life right after this.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.